Hey guys, and welcome to a special edition of Gifted Monkey TV and Movie Review. All things toy and toy related. I'm your host, Jordan Preston, and when we come back, we're going to get into some good, big information that just came down the pike over the weekend, 2013 of July. You guys aren't going to want to miss this big news. So come on back, let's check it out.
Respect the monkey!
Hi all, and welcome back to our show. This is, like I said at the top of the show, a special edition of Gifted Monkey TV. In fact, this isn't even our shoot day today. But I wanted to get my tea ready, sit here with you, and casually talk about some great news that came over the pike this last weekend. As I speak to you right now, it's July, late July 2013, and Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, one of the biggest Comic-Cons in the world, has just completed this past weekend. But not without delivering two comic book, toy-related movie bombshells. First one we'll get to is, this past weekend, Man of Steel director Zack Snyder reconfirmed that they are doing a Man of Steel 2, and it is still fast-tracked for 2015. Side note, same year Avengers 2 is supposed to come out. But with a twist. At Comic-Con, they added it will be a Batman versus Superman theme. You heard me, a Batman versus Superman theme. Now, initially when I heard this, my thoughts were, man, they're going to mess this up. How can you do this? How can you have a Batman we don't even know right now get into a film with a Superman we're just getting to know? So I was really kind of bummed out about it. Oh man, DC is heading toward another Green Lantern type fiasco with their favorite franchise. And if they get this wrong, they won't recover because these are their two head guys. But upon further reflection, after I thought about it for a minute, I thought, you know what? I kind of understand this. Given that DC has been dormant for a long time, and then on top of that, not too successful for an even longer time with their superhero properties, and all of us fanboys have been saying, guys, you got to get on the ball, you got to jumpstart and surpass Marvel, you got no time to lose, you got to catch up for lost time. What else could they do? What else could they do but sit there and say, well, we need to do something that really catches the attention of everybody, gets everybody thinking about our properties again, and gets everybody excited and causes a buzz. What more buzz than bringing their two favorite properties together in a clash? Not just a get-together, but an actual, they announced, dropping my mic, they announced that it's going to be a clash type theme, so a fight type theme. So that gets everybody going. So of course that was where DC had to go. So as I started thinking about it more in that light, I got excited about it. The little kid in me, the little kid that never cares if I ever meet a girl in my life, that little kid, the geek in me, it got excited and said, yes, Superman versus Batman. I love it. Now, this doesn't come without some cost to it. Now, as you guys might not know or know, if you got to have a movie, DC probably had this planned. It didn't just come over on the weekend, some wigs come say, hey, you know what, let's do this real quick while we got the attention of Comic-Con. So that means if it wasn't planned, if it wasn't a spontaneous outburst by Zack Snyder, down the road, unbeknownst to us, months, maybe even a year or so before this, they kind of knew, germinating in their writing psyche, that they wanted to do a Batman type crossover with Superman. So that means to me, that says to me that they got a script, or at least an outline of a script, already working, already good, that they have confidence to stand up to the world of Comic-Con, where you can't make a mistake. You can't talk mess at Comic-Con and say, I got this and not deliver. They stood up with confidence and told all of us, this is what we got next in the pike. So that makes me feel a little better, because it must be darn good to them, script-wise, story-wise, to already say that. So when we talk about storyline, I'm going to hold this up. Keep in mind, guys, too, writing for a television show, a cartoon, or a comic book, or a motion picture are all different venues. It's all writing, but the way you have to approach it, the things you have to get covered, the practicalness of it is all different. So you might have a great story that translates fantastically in a comic book, but doesn't work that well when you put it on 2D, which is a animated show, and an animated show that looks fantastic in its storyline, but doesn't translate that believably or that well or flows well when you put it in a live action context. That being said, I'm going to bring this movie up to you guys. A lot of you fanboys, myself included, know about this movie. This happened, I think, at the beginning of season 2 of the Superman animated movie. They had World's Finest episode, which introduced Batman and Superman. The reason why I bring this up is because in this particular, and guys, if you don't have this, rent it, buy it, find it, you'll love it. If you like Superman and Batman, or the notion of them fighting or teaming up together or whatever, this is premium cartoon stuff. Anyway, in this particular storyline, Batman and Superman heard of each other, of course, but they never met each other. So there's a little ambivalence and uneasiness. In fact, they don't start off on the right foot. In fact, through the 90% of the movie, there's friction and a little bit of backbiting and mistrust, until at the very end, they become uneasy allies. See, they never become best buds in this film, but they become uneasy allies and respect each other. I think DC should take a look at this. Really take a look at this before they finalize their final script. Also, talking about the movie, DC has to do this right. They can't mess it up. I think that they should bite their pride and get Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and those guys who won Emmys on the animated Batman series and the Superman series animated and the Justice League animated, Justice League Unlimited animated. You get the idea. Get those guys to consult. They don't have to get them to write it. They don't have to get them to direct it. I understand. There's two different mediums. Just because you were king in one doesn't mean it'll work well in the other. I understand it. But Bruce Timm and Paul Dini know what fans like. They know this genre. They know Superman and Batman in particular, insides and out. They know little... Do you remember when we saw the Avengers movie? There were certain moments in the Avengers that the geek in us just said, that's what it looks like in the comics. That's what I always imagined when I was a little kid, that Thor would say this, or that Captain America would do this, or that Hulk would do this. And they did it. Josh Whedon put it in. He infused in these little scenes where or little semantic pictures of when you see Iron Man and all of them standing together. It's like, yes, that's how it should look. Or that's what he should do. They need to get somebody like a Bruce Timm or Paul Dini who knows this, that fans like this, and say, okay, this is a great script, guys, I understand, but you need to put a little of this in it. For the fans to love it, for it to be that extra super big thing, you got to put a little of this in. You got to add him saying this, or you got to add him doing this. That's what I firmly believe DC needs to swallow its pride with that. For so many years, they hung back from putting Paul Dini and Bruce Timm involved in the live action films. I always felt was a big mistake, but now it's crucial. Because we're talking about two properties these guys know inside and out and have proof through their award winnings that they know what they're doing. Last, they need to do casting on Batman. Now, a lot of people were saying, Armie Hammer. Let me tell you why I think Armie Hammer is not going to be the Batman. Because Lone Ranger, and not because Lone Ranger was a box office disaster financially, that helps, because you know the suits always care about money first, integrity of the film last. Armie Hammer, even though Lone Ranger was a failure, there were no big outcries that, yes, it was a failure, but the girls and fans said, I love Armie Hammer. He was the best thing about the film. He was so hot, so sexy. And the men didn't come away going, that dude, Armie Hammer, nailed it. The film, I had trouble with this and that, but Armie Hammer nailed it as the Lone Ranger. As a superhero, he nailed it. No one came around with that as a big buzz. And that should be a red flag for DC to know. If you don't have fan approval, like, bear with me, like Channing Tatum. A lot of guys will say, Channing Tatum, you kidding? Yeah, you can say what you want about his acting or what you like as a guy, if you like him or not, or whatever the thing is. But you cannot deny his appeal. Even if the movie sucks, like White House Down wasn't great, or Magic Mike, I know a lot of you guys didn't see it, people still walked away saying, wow, that Channing Tatum, I didn't like the movie, but he was sexy. The girls say he was sexy, he was hot, I love it. They need to go at some, so that's all that to say, Armie Hammer I don't think will be a choice. He might have been on the table before Lone Ranger, but now this was a litmus test for superhero stuff with Lone Ranger. And even the movie's tanked, he didn't come out smelling like a rose as the ladies loved him and the men wanted to be him, which is a crucial element you must have as a superhero, I think, especially a big icon superhero. I think what they're going to do is go through the route of, and they cannot mess up. with this as casting. So I think what my suggestion is, what my thoughts are, what they're going to do is they're going to find somebody who already has fan-like ability, who has a little bit of a name, has some acting chops, like Marvel did with Robert Downey Jr. for the Avengers. Now, remember when we all heard Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Tony Stark, very few of us in the geekdom world said, oh, shoot, they're going to mess it up. In fact, most of us said, okay, I can see that, or at least, okay, I'll give it a try. He's a good actor. He looks the part, and he has chops, so he can't mess it up. If the script is good, he won't mess it up. So we had that kind of confidence going in, and it just went beyond that once the actual film came out. So I think they're going to go with somebody who already has a little bit of a fan-like ability, like a Channing Tatum. I'm not saying they're going to go with that, but I bet you his name is on the list. You can be darn sure of that, of the short list of who they want to be Batman. But somebody with a track record of likability by guys and girls, like a Channing Tatum, maybe a Matthew McConaughey, or maybe that type of thing. Jason Momoa, the big guy in Game of Thrones season 1. Somebody like that has a little bit likability that the ladies like too. So I think that if they do this right, they also need to look at Batman's costume. Remember, this is not going to be Christopher Nolan's Batman. That era, that season, that story, that look is done. That was Christopher Nolan's little take on Batman, so don't drag that in there. That was his take. It's done. So they got a chance to give us the Batman we always kind of really wanted. We all know we want to see Batman. It's still in that kind of gray, that deep gray, and that blue cape and cowl. Doesn't have to be cheesy like 66 Batman, where it's all fabric. Look at Arkham City. I think DC needs to look at some of their video game licenses and look at Arkham City. It's dark gray with the Bat logo, but it looks badass. You can see it's got Cavalier elements as well as some armor elements, which looks practical that somebody smart and ingenious and with help and who's a multi-billionaire would come across, and still looks like a little bit like the Batman we all, young or old, know and love. They need to do that with him. This is their golden opportunity to reboot Batman in our eyes, and we all would accept it and love it. And so that's what they need to do. If DC does these things and they really take their time, they don't mess up, they don't let the suits get too deeply involved in it with their never read a comic book before in their life thinking, and who cares about what the fan wants, this will make money. If they really find a good balance like Marvel did in Iron Man and Avengers and things like that, they will undoubtedly have the biggest motion picture blockbuster, I feel, ever so far, that surpasses Titanic, Avatar, Avengers, Star Wars, any of those. They will have the biggest, because we all wanted to see that. Because you know we all started out as DC kids when we were babies and young kids, young boys and girls, and then we switched over to Marvel as we got over. So there's always a little special place for us to see Batman and Superman duke it out, or at least be in the same movie talking to each other. And that takes precedent over anything Marvel has done so far, and anything DC has done so far, anything we've seen so far. So if they do it right, we got a hell of a movie coming in 2015. And you got to know one last thing before we go on to the next subject. The people at Mattel, at NECA, and at Lego, they must be drooling. To tie this all up into a toy event, they must be drooling, because this, dropping my mic again, this must be a great piece of news to them. To get both these properties in one movie, that they can make toys, that they already have. For those of you that don't know, Mattel has the biggest license right now for the DC universe, especially Superman and Batman. And NECA is coming in with their real good sculptors of tall 18-inch and smaller posable figures of the DC universe, including Man of Steel and now the Dark Knight, I'm sure. And Lego just has the world with these cute little Lego toys of the Batman DC universe, which they've been very successful with. So a movie combining both these super icons, they're salivating right now at the marketing thing of what they can do and what toys they can design. So that's going to be a great toy shopping for us toy geeks as well in the year 2015. So write in, let me know who you think should be Batman, and let's move on to our second segment today. So, also at Comic-Con this past weekend, Marvel announced the full title for its Avengers 2 movie coming out in 2015. Now, we all know that Marvel has the Avengers coming out, Avengers 2 coming out in 2015. No surprise there. But what the kind of surprise was, the full title for the Avengers movie in 2015 is Avengers, The Age of Ultron. Now, for those of you that are not too familiar with the comic books, Ultron is a robot initially created by Henry Pym, who is an Avenger that we have not seen in the movies or live action yet, who's also known as Ant-Man, who is part of Marvel's Phase 3, coming after the Avengers 2, Ant-Man. So that's kind of a query right there. But that's how Ultron was created. He's kind of like the bastard child, as you would say, the wayward creation, the mistake of Henry Pym, a famed, a very smart scientist who made this robot that got sentient, began thinking his own thoughts and wanted to rule the world. And then the Avengers had to band together to take him down. And he's gone on to thwart the Avengers through since the late 60s all the way to now. They just finished a big short story in the comic book series of Ultron called, I think, the Age of Ultron, of him fighting nearly everybody in the Marvel Universe, and there's time jumps, and Wolverine's a big character, and Spider-Man is, and Iron Man's a big character. So I don't think they're going to take that plot. They just took the title. So my initial thoughts when I heard this, just like DC, was no! Not that long, but like that. They're going to spoil it. Where's Thanos? Now, if you guys remember the Avengers, the first movie, we were teased at the very end credits with Thanos, that purple guy. For you, those of you who don't know, the purple guy at the end of the movie, they gave that little twinkling smile in his eye when his liege told him to court them would surely be to court death, and then he smiled. That guy. That guy's a really big Galactus-style supervillain in the Marvel Universe. He's like one of the most top tier, if you counted the top 5 people who in Marvel Universe are villains who are the strongest or most powerful, he'd be in that count. So I was like, where's Thanos? They promised that. We were drooling for Thanos. But also with like DC, upon further reflection, when I thought about it, I felt, of course, it makes perfect sense. Listen, if you're going to plan, and Kevin Feige, the guy who's the head of Marvel for films and live-action properties, they have this thing thought out more than we do, like for years in advance. We want to kind of go this direction. They might not have the exact script 4 years in advance, but they kind of have a big overview of where they want to lead this engine called Marvel characters and who we can include and what we're going to do next year and next year and next year for at least 4 to 5 years out, unbeknownst to us, the public and the fans. Make sure my mic is correct. So when I thought of it, I said, well, let's see. If you were going to have, say, most superhero properties run a gambit of 3, right? The origin story, a big action story, and then even a bigger ending, hopefully, for a sequel. They run a 3-quel, most of them. So if you're in Avengers 2 and you shoot your wad with Thanos, what do you do with Avengers 3? Who the hell can they fight bigger than Thanos in Avengers 3 unless it's Galactus? And they can't because Fox owns Galactus and they ain't going to release that to Disney anytime soon. So it said you got to have an interim hero who gives the Avengers a run for their money, has an interesting, compelling story, can come back again in different superhero independent movies and be a threat to them, as well as if we ever need him again, can team the Avengers up again in future properties. Who can we have that has that interim power? Not as big as Thanos, but a threat that the fans would probably relate to and know. Ultron. Because he is. All the fanboys know of Ultron, and from what I know of, nearly all the fanboys know and love and appreciate Ultron in the Avengers and Marvel Universe. So he doesn't get in the way. He's not somebody they'd go, oh my God, Ultron? He's one of the guys that you would go, of course, Ultron. Because he's like a Dr. Doom to what the Fantastic Four is. He's like that to the Avengers. He's always in their hair and always around somewhere and pops up every few years to give them a hard time. And he can generally beat most of them when he wants to or needs to. So I said, yeah, and then follow up strong with Avengers 3 with Thanos, because how can you top it? If you got to have a topper at the end of your show, have the big guy come out, hit with the big guns, all the fireworks firing at once. That would be Thanos. And we can probably find out in the storyline that Thanos was the puppet master for all the little standalone Marvel characters and their scripts and their plots, as well as maybe the Avengers 2 plot. Thanos was in the background orchestrating everything, and then Avengers 3 hit us hard with that. And that would be fantastic. And it gives us a lot of time through all the Avengers independent properties to kind of weave Thanos in our psyche and in through the storyline, at least even at the end credit scenes that Thanos is around, like, almost like they had Loki at the end of Thor talk to the doctor and he got in it, that type of thing. So so I figured, yeah, as I got on, I said, yeah, that's perfect. That would be good to have him as a big payoff. The other thing that was weird about this, though, as I said, Ultron was created by Henry Pym, who was ultimately Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket in the Avengers series, and Giant Man in the Avengers comic books and television cartoons. Josh Whedon says, without a doubt, there will not be any introduction of Henry Pym in Avengers 2. So if Ultron's going to be in Avengers 2, maybe even the Vision is going to be in Avengers 2. We all know about the Vin Diesel remark that Vin Diesel has had, for those of you who don't know, Vin Diesel's had meetings with Marvel to join their Marvel Universe. And he looks so much and sounds so much and has the feel of the Vision and the body already of Vision. A lot of people, including myself, is speculating maybe he'll make an appearance as the Vision in Avengers 2. Now, Vision was also an android created by Henry Pym. But with no Henry Pym in Avengers 2, how do you get Ultron or even the Vision introduced? And I figured, well, maybe the storyline will be Tony Stark, since he's a scientist, has in some way, it's a defective, infected, or wayward armor that begets sentient thoughts of itself and comes alive. Almost like in Iron Man 3, how that was, that robot, one of his armors, he was dreaming and one of his armors got loose, like that. And just designed his own armor in his own, as being its own sentient being, he designs his own armor on himself and becomes Ultron. That might be a possibility. Also the fact that Tony Stark, aka Robert Downey Jr., was getting ready to leave Marvel. He was in negotiations for a bigger paycheck. So maybe Marvel in their wisdom say, hey look, we will make Avengers 2 about you. You will be the creator. You will be the guy who takes this Ultron property, which is hot with everybody, the fans and everybody. We'll take this Ultron property and put it on you. You'll be the one who created it, made the mistake, and it'll all be about how you did it and how you fixed it. So you'll be the focal point. And that might have been one of the selling tools to keep Robert Downey Jr. in the game, because he's only doing Avengers 2 and Avengers 3. He's not signed on for any more independent Iron Man. So that might be what happens. And I think that would be kind of cool. My questions is, what happens with Guardians of the Galaxy? Because common sense to all of us fanboys was, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy, now that makes sense why that's coming out in 2014, because it's going to lead the roadmap to Thanos and Avengers 2. But Avengers 2, not about Thanos anymore. That kind of, in my mind, does the Guardians of the Galaxy get twisted in the wind, get left, because how are they? We don't know who they are. And still at this very point, late July 2013, Marvel has made no effort majorly to introduce us, get us comfortable with, or be enrolled in the Guardians of the Galaxy's cast, or the Guardian of the Galaxy storyline. We don't know who they are, and the fanboys, most of us don't know who, the small percentage that know who it is. Imagine the everyday guy who just knows Avengers or Superman or Batman, and that's it. They don't know the big comic book world. Imagine what they must think of Guardian of the Galaxy. Who? Exactly. So I kind of wonder what are they going to do about that, but they better work very hard. This should be a good movie. I think it's going to be a great movie. My point with Guardian of the Galaxy is this. I got a word of warning to Marvel, and take it for a grain of salt. Remember, this is my opinion. Marvel better watch it, because to me, they barely got by with the skin of their teeth with Iron Man 3. Which means Iron Man 3 made $1 billion, over $1 billion by now, and that's true. And it was the biggest movie so far of the summer, and probably will be. But that's because of the heat of the Avengers and our love for watching Robert Downey Jr. in that armor and out of the armor in an Iron Man series. That's what it was. So everybody came for that heat, from that generation of those two things. But a lot of people had issue with how they handled that Mandarin incident. In fact, how they handled the armors, how they handled the Pepper Pot situation, how they had a lot of people there. So people are going, I don't know if Marvel might be. And I was one of those people. I actually didn't mind the Mandarin thing too much, but I can see where Marvel looks like it's going to be suffering from a little bit of hubris, which means ego. They've been doing so well. First major motion picture, comic book motion picture to really kick ass and get $1 billion, and with the fans and the critics kind of both came together and agreed they got it right. This was the best comic book movie ever done. And so Disney and Marvel might have got a little ego. Well, let's put anything out, guys. What do you guys in the suit say? Yeah, let's put anything out. They'll take it. And yeah, we will, because we love superhero stuff. We'll come out and see it. And that's how you get our big fans. Remember Godzilla? Godzilla in 1998 did great numbers, but no repeat business. So it sank. It started out like this on opening day, sank like a rock by the end of the week. because no word of mouth was good. Friends didn't come back with their friends to see over and over and over. That's what made Avengers a hit. That's what made Iron Man, the first one, a hit. That's what will make these superhero properties a hit, is when the fanboys are so enrolled, they get on their text, they get on their Skype, they get on their phone as soon as they get out the theater. Dude, you gotta check this out. Get the gang together. We're going again tonight. We're going again tomorrow. I'm taking my mom's flying down to visit. I'm taking her. My sister's in town. We're going. My brother-in-law, we're going. Do you get the idea? They fill the seats over and over again because they just can't get enough for at least 4 or 5 movies, 4 or 5 more times of seeing that particular movie. That's what do it. The average Jane and Doe that go to see these superhero movies, they see it once, they go, that was nice. I liked it. And they don't go back again. They might talk about it at the office and enroll people around the office to go again, see a first time to see it. But they're not really the ones that bring the people back over and over, or go see it themselves, dropping my mic, over and over again. Marvel has to really appreciate the fans. Now I know when you make a live action movie, you can't always have what the fans like. You'll go crazy because the fans always like, you got 20 guys over here that like this, 20 guys that like this, 20 guys say this is the best comic book version, this is the best storyline to use, and you got different things. You go nuts. You do at some point have to focus in and say, this is what we're going to do, and hopefully while we do it, we will appease most of the fans. But I don't see Marvel doing that right now. I see Marvel kind of getting on the border of saying, we do what we want. You guys are going to come, and you'll like it. That's what they figure. That's what they hope. You'll come, you don't know about it, and we might have screwed you a little bit, but you'll like it. You'll wind up liking it, and we'll do big numbers. And they got to watch that. Remember, the fans made you, and without the fans, we'll take you down. So Marvel, you're on guard. You got a shaky start to your phase 2. It was kind of hit or miss with Iron Man 3. Some of us liked it, some of us didn't. It wasn't a knockout the park like Iron Man 1 where nearly everybody loved it. Or Dark Knight 2 where nearly everybody loved it. Dark Knight Rises. So, no, sorry, Dark Knight. Where Heath Ledger, where everybody kind of liked it. Critics and fans alike. So Marvel, you're on notice. Get it together. What do you guys think about this whole story? What kind of storyline do you think DC should do with the Batman versus Superman? What storyline do you like? Who do you think should be the new Batman? And what do you think about the news about Marvel switching up the title and the storyline with Ultron? Fill in below, subscribe. Thanks guys for coming into watching our special emergency edition of Gifted Monkey TV movie review, where we got to learn about the big things, the big news that came out of Comic-Con this past weekend. I thank you guys for joining us. Again, subscribe, like us if you like us, and leave a comment because you know I always get back to you guys. Thanks again for watching, and remember, watching movies can be fun as a barrel of monkeys, even reviewing them. But respect the monkey. Play nice. Take care, guys.